What's up, guys? Here we are, Monster Motivator TV number 43. Now, I want to tell you guys, last week with Larry Lewis Jr., I said it was 43. My marketing manager made sure she got me straight like usual. He was number 37 because we had to redo his because we didn't have enough Wi-Fi down in Encinitas. So, he was 37. John truly is 43. No one's going to take that from him.
All
right? You're the real 43. This is going to be a really cool episode. I know a little bit about John's background just from speaking to him at some networking events. And let me just start off like this. Grew up in the commercial fishing industry and is now in the home care industry. He went from commercial fishing to home care. So I can't wait to hear this transition. I mean, this is, talk about polar opposites, right? And you've been an entrepreneur pretty much your whole adult life.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been someone that always thought a little bit outside the box when it comes to a lot of
My man, right there, right? That's our DNA. So we are on location in Temecula, California. This is where his office is. When we get done, as usual, John will reshare, send all the information, answer questions, connect with people. I'm going to bring this up on the phone, but let me have John Freitas. That's the East Coast way.
Yeah.
John Freitas, introduce himself and tell us a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up, and your little bit of background on who you are and where you came from and where you're at today, because I know you have a pretty cool story and a lot of gold nuggets that people are going to connect with.
Yeah, well, I grew up actually in San Diego. Grew up there, was born at Mercy Hospital in San Diego, and went all the way through junior, elementary, everything, high school in San Diego. And then basically after that, I became a commercial fisherman right out of high school. I left right as I graduated. I pretty much went fishing in 1995. So.
Well, let's go back a little bit. So you grew up in San Diego. You're born and raised in San Diego. Now being from the East Coast, right? You know what we call that, right?
Native.
Spoiled. Because this is paradise, my man.
Exactly.
This is absolutely paradise. I mean, 75 and sunny. Tomorrow's going to be 75 and sunny, low humidity.
Yeah, no.
When I first moved out, I said, you know what? If I'm not sure what business I'm going to get into, I'm going to be the weatherman, because that's like stealing money out here.
Exactly.
Beautiful. So you grew up, born and raised in San Diego. Went to public school, private school?
I went to private school.
Okay.
Actually, through all the way from preschool all the way through high school.
Okay. Now, did you have a lot of entrepreneurs surrounding you? Did you have a foundation like that? Because I like to share with people, because your foundation's everything.
Yeah. Well, my father was, he was involved in the commercial fishing, and he was an entrepreneur, and he owned his own vessel, and I kind of took his lead. We were a little bit outside thinkers, and
That is.
We weren't afraid of a little bit of work to get where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that made us a lot different. And I had met my grandfather, my father. I had some great mentors.
So was it generations deep as far as the commercial fishing?
I think I was fourth or fifth generation.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, I mean it was something embedded in us, but at the same time, my family didn't want us to do it.
They didn't?
No, they did not want me fishing.
Why?
My dad said it was a lonely life, and he wanted, he said, I worked my whole life to send you guys through college and so you could have a better life so you didn't have to be out there. And me, I didn't listen.
Right.
I wanted to do, I felt that that's what a man did, and I wanted to do it.
Right. And it's part of your tradition, right? It's part of your world. Yeah.
Culturally.
Being a man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Culturally and everything. I mean, all my uncles, my grandparents, we were all. It's very much like a military life. You're raised by the women. The men are out to sea.
And when you're little.
Yeah, when you're little. So I was reared mostly until my dad stayed home for a little while. Once I got into the late stages of high school, but growing up, it was my mom. My mom, my aunts, my grandmothers.
Yeah.
it takes a village, right, to raise. And,
absolutely.
And that's how I was raised. You know, we had eyes everywhere, wherever we were looking. You know, and it was a good thing. But you know, once I got to the age where, you know, I was thinking about going to college and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I decided that I wanted to go fishing. That's something that I wanted to do, and I did it for just about 20 years.
Wow! So you just knew that you had something in you, just pulling you. Now, how were you as a student? Were you a good student in school?
I struggled.
That's it. I know it.
I was horrible at school.
Okay.
Actually, school was a nightmare for me every day.
Why is that?
I had severe learning disabilities.
Okay.
I actually didn't know how to read until I was about in the 5th grade.
Okay.
Many times of, you know, extra after school tutoring. I mean, I did it all. I still am not the type of person to this day that can learn anything by book.
Yeah,
I kind of look. I kind of look at things, and you teach me how to do something, I can do it.
Right, hands on.
Hands on.
Yep.
But I can't. You know, I can't do it by book, and my whole life I struggled, and I still struggle with it to this day. But you know, I was called stupid.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I'm 41 now. When I was growing up, they didn't really know about the learning disabilities. So it was something that they didn't really know how to deal with. And so for every hour of regular homework that people would get, it would take me 5 hours.
Yeah.
And it was a constant struggle. And I thank God every day that my mom was there. She was willing to sit there with me and help me and get me the help I needed.
So see, that's what now you're starting to get to that foundation, right? That support system.
Exactly.
Because when you're a little kid, your subconscious is like a sponge, man. Everything they tell you, you believe.
Exactly.
So she was, no matter what the outside noise said, no matter what all the experts said, she knew that you could do it. You just did it in your own way.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's the key.
Yeah, and I struggled. It was something, you know. It was constantly not knowing if I was gonna, you know, graduate from high school, and
right.
I mean, like I said, it was 4th or 5th grade before I even read. You know, it was a constant struggle for me, and all my life I was told along the way in high school and in junior high.
Right.
I had teachers that called me stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I had a vice principal that told I saw him recently, and he couldn't believe that I was where I was at. You know, he said, you know, I never thought you would have made anything of yourself. He kind of basically told me that, and I kind of went, you know. But my whole life, I always wanted to do the things that people thought that I couldn't do.
Yes.
I didn't.
Yes.
If I was told that I couldn't do it, I was going to do it.
And that's the entrepreneur DNA, right? That's that grit, and we call it moxie, right?
Yeah.
You tell me I can't do it, and I'm going to show you that I can, but I'm going to show you I'm going to do it in my way, right? Just because your way, and I'm a big believer in EQ versus IQ. Exactly. EQ is what really counts once you get out of school. Once those degrees are hung on the wall, or they're not hung on the wall, however that works for you, EQ is going to get you much further in life than IQ. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I completely agree. You know, I think that life experience and actually getting out there and doing things, you know, don't fall into that pattern that you can't. You know, for a little while I started to fall into this pattern where, you know, I'm stupid.
How old were you when you fell into that?
Probably about 13 to 14, right?
Yeah, okay.
Right as I was getting in high school, which is a normal time for most kids to do that anyway.
Right? Yeah.
But I had the added pressure of, you know, I was going into these classes and I didn't know what they were talking. You know,
right. It was like Greek, right? Yeah. It was like so foreign to you.
It was just I was completely lost.
Like in a fog,
exactly.
Right? And now I don't know about you. I was the same way, right? But my outlet was sports and friends. Right, that was my outlet. Gotcha. Because I wanted to be physical, and it sounds a lot like you, because that's probably a big reason why you got into commercial fishing. The belief level was there because you saw generations, and you're physical. In other words, you learn. If you give me that phone and you tell me, and you take that phone from me and you say, "Here's how you do Snapchat," I'm not going to get it.
Yeah,
but if you walk me through it, is that
exactly
okay?
Exactly. You know, and it was, it's exactly that, you know, and I wanted to do something that I think that I could excel at. In the beginning, when I got there, I wasn't sure that I was going to excel at it, but I was never afraid to work hard.
Right.
That was in my DNA. It was like, okay, if I can't
That's your
do
out,
it, if I can't do it, I'm not going to get into Boston College.
Mm-hmm.
So what can I do to make something for myself? And
Mm-hmm.
I found fishing was a way, and I was lucky that I had that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of hard work. You know,
Right.
it was starting from the bottom and working my way all the way up to fish captain.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a U.S. Coast Guard Merchant Marine document. I'm made a 1,600 ton, and I needed that in order to navigate on the vessel or be the fish captain. So I did that.
Right.
I went to the Maritime Institute down in San Diego, and I went through my schooling. And I had to do the Upon Oceans, which is funny because it's all like trigonometry and geometry.
How did you conquer that?
Well, I told myself that I needed to do it, and so I, even though it took me longer, you know, it took me probably 8 months versus the 3 months it usually takes everybody else. I put my mind to it and I did it.
So your why was big enough.
My why was big enough. Because I saw at the end of the tunnel, I was making hardly any money as a crew member, and I knew if I got that license that I would be somebody that was of value.
Mm-hmm.
My dad always told me, if you're going to fish, you better get your license, because otherwise you're going to be making crap and working your butt off all the time. But if you get that license, you'll still be working your butt off, but you'll be making money.
Right, and it goes back to your why. I'm a big believer in your why, right? The why in school just wasn't big enough.
No.
And same with me, right? But a few points I want to make here that's so important is his foundation was there. So whether you're a leader in your company, you work for a company in your leadership role, or you're a parent, grandparent, whatever that is, understand that, especially kids, even if they don't learn in the traditional way, doesn't mean they can't learn or they won't learn. You just have to figure out, as that leader, right, how they learn. And that is completely on the leadership shoulders. That's why you have that title. Again, whether you're, in my opinion, whether you're a parent, a teacher, a boss, right, a CEO, or a general manager, that's up to you to know your people, right? Your level of awareness. How do you learn? And let's get you in that groove. So I love the fact that you were equipped with that entrepreneurial DNA, where it's time to lace up the boots and get to work, and we will figure it out. And I have no problem falling down, getting back up, and wipe myself off, because I can just tell by your energy you've had a lot of that. Me too.
I get knocked down, I fall right back up.
Right?
Pick right back up. It really is that, and that's really why I wanted to come on here today, because I wanted to let people know that even if they learn differently, or they haven't had the best opportunities in life, or whatever the case may be, everybody has a different story, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody has some things that have brought them down. No matter what you're coming from, you can make something of yourself. You have the power within. Everybody has the power within themselves to do it. Right. It's just finding what you're good at and doing it.
And just doing it. So let's go back a little bit to your mom, because this is the initial foundation. What are some of your memories as far as reinforcement, belief? Like, is there things that she would tell you? Is there things that she would do that made you, because that's your self-image at that time.
Yeah,
she's your self-image.
Yeah, I mean, she basically was always there, and she always said, you can do anything that you want to do. You could be anything you want to be. If you want to be a garbage man, be a garbage man, but be the best garbage man you can be. Right. It was that. It was never, we're too good for this or we're too good for that.
Or you can't do this because you can't learn this way.
It was never that. My parents were a big support system for me when I was going through those times, and my poor parents went through hell with me as well. We would go back and forth. I didn't want, there was times where I didn't want to put the work in. I'm like, I don't want to sit here for 5 hours and do homework.
Man, that was me.
I just want to goof off and be the class clown, and that's what I became. I became kind of the class clown because it was a way for me to hide.
Yes.
What was actually happening.
Deflect. Yes.
And so I was always a very social person. I always had that ability to be social. And I have the friends that I have today are some of the same friends that I had at that age, at 13.
Yeah.
I maintain those relationships.
Right.
I feel like, there's 4 of them in particular that I consider brothers.
Right.
So it's more like a brother-brother relationship more than a friend-friend
Yep,
relationship.
I get that. I get that.
And, between that and my parents and just having the support, but I still had to put in the work myself. Nobody could do it for me.
No, and it's not their job.
It's not their job, and they couldn't do it. They could help me along the way, give me all the guidance they can, but you still have to put in the work.
Yes.
No matter what you do in life, you're gonna have to put in the work.
You got to buckle down and figure it out, right? And I think I'm in the same board. We're actually a lot alike. I didn't even realize to this much. Is I'm so grateful and so thankful that I've been embedded somehow, some way with that work ethic, right? With that drive, because that was my only savior. It's still my only savior. There's still, and then acquiring those tools as you become an entrepreneur to know how to identify those weaknesses and surround yourself with those people that can enhance them, right? Fill that void.
Exactly.
I think that's the key. So you're 20 years on the boat. How was that?
Oh, you know what? I loved a lot of it.
Okay.
It only became a problem once I got married and had kids and stuff.
That's got to be
I was
brutal.
gone a lot.
That's got to be. How long were you out?
Oh, I would be out anywhere from a month. My longest trip I ever made without seeing land was 122 days.
Wow. How many months is that?
That's just over 4 months.
4 months. Wow.
Without seeing land. So, and then there'd be times where we'd be, we would get into port, but I couldn't necessarily come home because maybe the boat would only be in for a couple of days or something like that.
Right.
And we'd go back out. So sometimes I'd be 6 months before I'd come home.
So I want to touch on this because I want to talk about that, but I want to touch back on this because this is really what we're so much alike in this way, and this is what I want people to know is, my first business, and this is going to tie into you, my first business ever, I had a public adjusting firm in Philadelphia, and a public adjuster licensed and bonded in the state to represent the homeowner against insurance companies on property claims.
Gotcha.
And I was a outside sales rep, 100% commission for years for other companies. So long story short, I had to get my public adjusting license in order to run a business.
Gotcha.
7 times I took that test, right?
Yeah.
7 times. But my why was big enough. I had to eat, right? I had to survive, and I just kept going. I think I might have, the 7th time, I might have passed this thing by 2 or 3 points. But the bottom line is I built and sold a company within 5 years. That was just something that required, that the state required. But it didn't make or break me, right? It didn't make or break me. So I'm going to talk about the test to get your license. I mean, dude, that's intense.
Yeah,
and scary.
Yeah, it's very intimidating because you go up to the Coast Guard, and at that time it's still up in Long Beach, but it was over there on Terminal Island, right next to the prison there before on Pico, whatever, up there in Long Beach, and over there you'd get into the room, the test room, and they're all looking at you. You're like in the middle of the room, literally with the glass around you, and you're taking the test. They're kind of like, it's a very intimidating situation, but the preparation and the studying for it, it's very intense.
Right.
You go through like a 6-week to 8-week course. Crash course is how I did it. They call us hose pipers. Mm-hmm. You can go to a 4-year college to do that, a maritime college, but
you don't need to. Right.
You don't need to. I did it the hose pipe way. But my challenges were, my severe dyslexia and everything. I had to take more time on everything to make sure that I just didn't mess myself up. Right.
Cross your T's, dot your I's.
Yeah. Because without the pressure on you, I could do it.
Right.
But it was in that little room, and everybody's looking at you, and you're thinking you want to make sure nothing gets transposed or
right, and you become your worst enemy.
Yeah, and I mean, I had to take a couple of the tests a couple times.
Right.
I didn't pass everything the first time.
No, I mean, I would be surprised.
I think there was 5 modules, just the Upon Oceans, the Celestial Navigation.
Right.
Itself, that's just all
math. That scares the hell out of me. Just that title.
I'm telling you.
So I want to make some real points here, right? So here's the deal. This is so simple, just not always easy, and it's the same recipe every single time. So understand how he got to this point. He didn't read until he was 5 years old. He was told he's not smart. He was told he was dumb. He was told he was not supposed to win because he didn't learn in a certain way. But here's what happened, right? The belief, because he was 5 generations deep and he saw it for himself, was strong enough to make you move into that direction. Then the test and doing it, your why pulled you through, right?
Exactly.
But he also became his own worst enemy, right? We talk about the most misunderstood tool in our world, which is self-talk, right?
Exactly.
Your self-talk, you were already defeating yourself before you got in there because you put all this pressure on yourself,
I told myself
right?
I couldn't do it.
But that's how powerful your why is when it's bigger than you. And your why literally, and you couldn't define it at the time, I'm sure, but your why was bigger than you.
Exactly.
It was pride, it was family, and this is what I'm supposed to do in order to become a man.
Exactly.
And right or wrong, I don't care if you agree with that or not. That's just you. That's reality.
That's what I
was that reality?
Yeah, that's
reality.
What I was thinking.
I wanted to break that down for people because people are saying, well, wait a minute, you had this wrong, this, but how did you do it? And it's so simple. It's just not always easy.
Yeah.
It's just so simple. So now you're in. Was getting on that boat what you thought it was going to be? Was it?
Well, in the beginning, I didn't know what to expect, and actually, I went down to New Zealand. We were in the shipyard in New Zealand, and I went down to see if this is what I wanted to do. My dad was down there already, and he said, "Okay, I'll give you a job for the summer. You know, see if." This
So you were just out of high school?
Yeah, just out of high school, and he said, come down, and we're gonna, I'm gonna, we're gonna
it's
show
boot
you.
camp, baby. It's
We're
boot
gonna show
camp.
you. Yeah, and I mean, he literally did. They gave me every crap job there was.
Right.
He didn't want me to do it.
Yeah, he was trying to beat you up to where you're like, I gave up.
I'm
right?
done. No more. Sorry.
Right.
But that didn't happen. I turned out loving it, and so I actually came back to San Diego because they didn't have room on the boat. There was still, they only have so many on the crew.
Right.
And so I had to wait my turn until somebody got off the boat, and then once that happened, I jumped on as a crew member and never looked back.
So you got the bug, right? And that crazy summer, you got the bug. It was either going to scare you away forever, or it was going to embed in you as part of your DNA. So once you started to do this 2-3 years in, was it what you thought?
Well, I realized after that few years in, I think it was about the 4th year that I realized I better start listening to what my dad had to say about the license.
Okay.
Even though I didn't want to, I figured, well, I'm making money, I'm single, I don't spend anything because I'm over here, I can live like this. But then there was that little thing in my head that said, I don't want to do this. Eventually I'm going to end up getting really badly hurt or something like that.
Yeah.
I want to come up higher in there and make the money and make this worth my while. Make my investment, those 4 years so far, make them count.
So up to these 4 years, you didn't take that test.
No.
You were a laborer in essence, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For layman's terms.
Exactly.
You were just a laborer.
Exactly.
Oh, I thought you had to get that test before you even went on.
No.
Okay,
no,
so
no.
they'll bring you on.
Oh yeah,
you're just going to be the grunt.
Oh, and I was.
Right.
I definitely was.
But those 4 years of being a grunt, how did that build that foundation?
Well,
of character.
Yeah, it built it because it made me realize that this is not. I want the bigger prize.
Right.
I'm looking towards the future. Even some of my friends go, I can't believe you're doing this for this amount of money and this.
But let me ask you this: looking back, how important were those 4 years before you decided to move up? If you just jumped, if you just took that test from day one. What do you think the advantages?
The same.
So talk about that.
Well, because I had the practical experience.
Right.
I knew what it was like to sit there and work on, actually stack the net on the net pile, do those menial jobs. I mean, even as far as just, we had dish days and things like that. I mean, there were so many different little life lessons in there. It's actually too many to even mention here.
Right,
it's kind of, you learn the value of $1. You learned about hard work. You learned about, you don't take a break till the job's done.
Right. Right.
And that's embedded in you as a crew member, because if you rip the net, you don't sleep until it's fixed. I mean,
right,
that's just the way. That's just the way.
It's some old school.
It's the way that life is.
Because you have to survive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it also teaches you, well, I want to be. If I'm going to do this, I might as well put the work in and go to the next level.
Right.
And at that point I decided I want to run this boat.
You were ready.
I was ready.
You were ready. Here's what it sounds like, right? Is those 4 years equipped you to be a much, much more powerful and effective leader than if you didn't live those 4 years.
Yeah.
Because you can relate to every single person
exactly
in that, right?
And I never forgot what it was like to be that crew member.
Where you came from.
Where I came from,
Yeah.
exactly. If I had just been handed, I guess if I had just gotten my license, jumped on the boat,
Right.
and become a navigator or the captain right away, which is almost impossible because you got to learn all the steps anyway. But I had the experience to know how to treat the other people that are working for me.
You earned it.
I earned that.
You
I
earned
earned that right.
Yes.
And I was always one of the guys, even when I was their boss.
Right.
There was time to work, and I could be very stern, all 5'5" of me and everything.
Right.
And I was a young kid, 21 years old, 22 years old. But they respected me because I sat right next to them and did that work with them.
Mm.
And so they could sit there and say, okay, I respect him because he did what he needed to do in order to be where he's at.
So that built that foundation. So now let's jump into, you go from commercial fishing to caregiving.
Home care.
Home care.
We provide caregivers into the home.
Okay.
And we also do placement into communities like assisted livings, memory cares, things like that. How I got into that was I was fishing, and we were, I was doing well fishing. There was no problem with it, but my mother-in-law had gotten sick with cancer. She had a brain tumor. And my wife ended up being the caregiver for the last 3.5 years of her life. So we went through hospice, home health.
Oh.
We went through all that stuff, as young people, helping raise my brother-in-law, who at the time was 10 years old.
Right.
Me and my wife went through a lot of adult things at a young age. At 19, 20, 21, we were dealing with stuff that most people don't have to deal with till they're much older.
40s, 50s.
40s, 50s, things like that.
60s, right.
And so I always said to my wife as I was fishing, I told her that I don't want to fish permanently. I see a light at the end. I'm going to fish for a certain amount of years, get myself to a certain position, and then I'm going to go off on my own. And we always talked about it. I wasn't sure what I was going to do at that point.
Right.
But the more and more we talked about it and going through what we had been through with my mother-in-law, I always told her, I said, let's teach our kids to give back. Okay. Let's teach them that there's more to life than just money. You have to be able to give back to your fellow man. So how can I make money and give back to my fellow man? I've always been an old soul. I've always loved talking to elderly people. I mean,
wisdom.
I stop and I listen. I love World War II stuff. My grandfather was in World War II, Pacific Campaign. Yeah. And so I cling to it, man. When I hear it,
it just resonates with you.
It just resonates.
I'll introduce you to my dad. He just turned 91, and he was 82nd Airborne in World War II.
Wow.
So,
I would love to.
I would love. And he loves to talk about it.
Yeah.
So when did you actually start the home care?
Well, we started up here about a year ago. Our company's been in business for about 8 years now. My cousin runs the San Diego office. Oh. And she worked in assisted livings and things like that. And she started.
So you're partners?
With a place, yes, we're partners. We're not a franchise, we're a partnership. And she started with basically with placement. And then went into the home care, and then we kind of fell in. We were, we're all good friends. My cousin, we were talking about it, and I said, this is something that we want to get into. This is something that we feel that we can do. We've been through it with my mother-in-law. Yeah. We see what the bad side of care is. You get these people that are so cold that come in.
Just brutal. Yeah.
And
abuse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what scares me.
Yeah,
for my
tons
family.
of elder abuse, tons of, and we said, we want to be the people that make it better.
Okay.
And so it was a combination of several different things. I was getting burnt out fishing. I really actually was under so much stress.
Okay.
The fishing was actually killing me inside.
Yeah.
Because when I heard you speak that one time, you were talking about the fear of success, right? And that's exactly what was happening to me, because the better the trip was that I made as a captain, the next trip I felt like I was under more pressure
to move it up
to keep it at that level.
I got a great question for you, because I went down that same road with my first business, right? And I had a motorcycle accident that gave me an aha moment. I was afraid to sell my business because what else could I do, right? I'm doing very well. What else can I do? Did you hit that bump? Did you hit that fear barrier?
Yeah, and that's what the major step was from leaving fishing to this, because and everybody thought I was crazy.
Now you're moving in the right direction, right?
They all went, you're gonna leave a job that you've been doing for 20 years, making decent money doing. And I said it fulfilled me. It went to its limit of my fulfillment, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Now I need something else in my life to fulfill my life. And quite frankly, even my wife, we looked at each other and go, "Are we crazy for doing this?"
Because it's so great, dude. Is not only did you crush that bully, right? But you said to the bully, which is the fear barriers, not only am I going to do this, but I am going to go so far outside this world that it's not even in the same planet, right? If you think about it. Exactly. So that you talk about courage, but understand, right? It's really not what you do, it's how you do it. See, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And I know, right, just from the way we're wired as human beings and the way we're wired as entrepreneurs, once you made that jump, once you started down this road and you started to see something, the self-image that's been built from that, you can't buy, you can't sit in a classroom. Because now you're
solid here.
Yeah, now you're saying to yourself, you know what? I can do whatever I want. If I decide to leave this and go to Hollywood, if I decide to leave this and I want to be an astronaut, right? I'm making that self-image starts to allow you to actually believe that, and your story is just perfect for that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And every step of the way gave me that courage a little bit more. Nobody. When I first started actually running the boat, I had actually took a trip for the captain that I had worked under for about 7 years.
Yeah.
He took a trip off.
Yeah.
And who was going to run the boat? And when they said that I was going to run the boat, a lot of people went, "Doesn't have any experience."
Oh no!
But I went out there and I made a beautiful trip.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
You know what, I'm gonna tell you this, but you had the heart. You had the heart. So you know what? I'm from Jersey. We always give each other nicknames. You know what your new nickname is?
What's that?
Rudy.
There you go.
Remember Rudy?
Yeah.
Notre Dame. This is Rudy. So when you see him, don't say John. Just say Rudy, because honestly, and I mean that in such a great way.
Yeah,
because you're right.
I think
Because
that was a compliment.
well, because you know what? You figured it out, right? It doesn't matter what everyone else, that outside noise is saying. It doesn't truly matter if your why is big enough and your belief, and you had both of those, right? And now, let me ask you this. Did your belief grow because your family, again, did it?
Yeah.
Did that help with
it helped.
to see?
Yeah, but it all gave me everything leading up to this was, it gave me the skills that I needed in order to do this, in order to have the bravery to do it.
You became that person.
Exactly. I was a natural born leader. I was a fish captain on a boat. I was basically in charge of 24 guys.
Yeah.
23, 24, depending on
an effective leader.
An effective leader. And in management. And so those gave me the skills to be able to say, I can do this. I was 20 years in the fishing industry. I didn't have any sales experience for a job like this. And people go, well, this isn't sales, but there is a lot of qualities of sales in this job.
Oh my God!
And so everybody went kind of took back, like, okay, you've been doing this for 20 years, and now you're gonna do this. And I said, yeah.
Yeah, and see, because you became that person. acknowledge some people that jumped on. Debbie Nelson. Yep, it's all about learning style and finding ways to get it done. Absolutely, Debbie, 100%. There's so many different ways to learn, and there's so many different types of intelligence. George Elias, we call him G. Everyone's got a nickname. G said, if anything, it makes you more powerful when you have a learning disorder. No question about it, because I call it like the chicken, the little chicks in the egg, right? The mom knows that it can help that chicken get out of that egg, but nature tells it, let it figure it out on its own, because the strong survive. And that's what that makes you, a lot stronger person. So 100%. Lori, glad you jumped on. First time you're watching. I hope you're getting some great value from this. Martin Lopez, Thrive Talks, just did a keynote for him down at his organization down in San Diego. Right back at you, Martin. Boom. Christina Logan, she's waiting for some good motivation skills. Hopefully you're getting them. And Martin says very inspiring and very interesting and motivating. See, people connect because you're real, right? Yeah. And I think that's probably where we met each other a few times, but I think the connection came after my keynote, right? Yeah, exactly. Because you're sitting there going, you came up to me, right? And you said, that was me. Yeah, exactly. That was me. And I hear that all the time. And that's why I love doing this show, right? Because I tell everyone the same thing. It's not, your story is not you. It's not about you. It's about the people that you're going to help. Exactly. Right? The people that are connecting with you right now going, that's me. That's me. Or that's my son. That's my daughter. Right? Exactly. One or the other. So, you're going to, as everyone knows, once we jump off, you're going to be able to share this, share your information. But is there anything that I didn't touch on that you want to touch on? Is there anything that you want to, a little golden nugget that you want to share with everybody? Because the struggle is strength. Yeah. Easy is weak.
Yeah, I mean, just reiterating the fact that, don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't do something. You know what you're capable of. We all have it inside of us, and we just got to figure out what that is. No matter what that be, maybe your thing is being something else, but at least be true to yourself and be, know what you can do. You can do anything that you put your mind to. No matter what learning disability you have, no matter what your level of education, if you want it bad enough, if your why is there, you will succeed.
And I promise you, right, if you look back 5, 6 years old, that's exactly, you just reiterated what your mom told you over those years, right? Exactly. To build that self-image. And let me end with this. Never, ever, and I'm saying in a different way, right? Never, ever, ever let anybody put a label on you that you don't agree with. Never give up the driver's seat. It's your ride, not theirs. So, Monster Motivator TV, live stream TV show coming to you. We want to highlight business owners, entrepreneurs, nonprofits that are making a difference in their community. We come to you, or you can come to our studio. Either way, right? It's not as bad as it seems, right?
No, not at all.
Was it
just a conversation?
Okay, there you go, right? Just sharing your story. Exactly. And if you have any questions on home care, reach out to John. He's going to share this. He's easy to find. Yep. And if you just want to find out more about a story or share your story with him because it's so much alike, yep. This is what he loves. That's why we connected. So anybody you know that's going to be a good fit for Monster Motivator TV, just jump on our website, monstermotivatortv.com, and please, if you're getting value from this, reshare it. Help somebody else. Maybe they're going to find that they didn't learn how to read until they were 5, 6 years old. Maybe they're still having trouble, struggling with different things. Exactly. This could help them. So share it. Jump on our YouTube channel. If you want to look for other episodes, jump on there, become a member, and we'd love to hear from you. Also want to hear your feedback. So, as always, keep making it happen. Don't let anybody put a label